IYBA Pro Webinar Series. I'm Grant Henderson, President of the International Yacht Broker Association and a broker with Burgess Yachts. First and foremost, I want to thank our sponsors, Robert Allen Law, Informa, Yachter, Boat Docs, and yachtbroker.org. Remember, we're going to be handing out 5 Windward VIP tickets for FLIBs, so keep an eye out for the notifications during the webinar, and the winners will be emailed in the next few days. All right, let's get into the third and final segment of the IYBA Pro Webinar Series. This segment will be on post-boat show strategy, and if you missed the first 2 webinars, they're available on IYBA.org. The first segment will have Jeff Stanley from Gilman Yachts and Wes Sanford of Northrop & Johnson talking about post-boat show strategy. The second segment will have James Quartz from MarineMax and an expert panel on the use of AI. The third panel will be yours truly and Mike Scalisi of HMY Yachts, further getting into post-boat show strategy. And the final segment will be Trevor Carroll of Fraser Yachts and Peter Morey, who's the president of the Bahamas Marine Association, talking about the clarification of taxes and new regulations in the Bahamas. So sit down, grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's do it.
Jeff Stanley from Gilman Yachts, and I'm here with Wes Sanford from Northrop & Johnson. And today we're going to talk about post-boat show follow-up and success, which hopefully one leads to the other. So Wes, you started your maritime career as a captain on a charter boat for 10 years, I believe?
Yep, a little bit more than that, but can round down.
So you transitioned into yacht sales, which is actually a great way to become a yacht broker. I'd say, though, that it's about a 50% success rate of that, and I think you've done well to have
Thank you.
made
I'm not
the
even
transition
sure
well.
It's that high, honestly.
It may not be.
Tough.
It may not be.
It's
I
tough.
have
Different
no,
set
I
of
have no
skills.
data on that.
All those skills I thought I had when I was a captain, I didn't, and I learned after I became a broker and hung up my stripes.
Well, that was going to be my first question. So as a captain, you're on the boat, you see the broker come to show the boat. Next thing you know, we survey a day and the broker comes with a box of donuts, and pretty soon there's a closing, and you probably said, I can do that. Did that happen?
Yep. It seemed so easy. It seemed, in fact, I laugh about this a lot because it's funny. As soon as you become a broker, certain people stop returning your calls. You're working hard to make your clients happy, but clients are harder to find once you become a broker. What you don't realize when you're a captain is that all of those people that you knew already have a relationship with a broker.
It's true.
Even though you had a different relationship with them. And it is way harder than it looks from the other side, but I've been fortunate and hopefully continue to be, but mostly just hard work, trying to work harder than the next guy, keeping up with you.
Harder the work, the more successful you get.
Yeah,
right?
the luckier you get.
All right, so fast forward 21 years, you've been a yacht broker. I think you're enjoying it. Is that right, 21 years?
Wow. Actually, yeah, it has been 21 years. My anniversary is my daughter's birth because that's when I came ashore and got off boat, so I wouldn't travel so much. So yeah, almost 21 years.
So you're a newbie at this.
Yeah.
Okay. So did Kevin recruit you? Was that your first yacht broker's job?
No, I actually didn't meet Kevin until a few years after I'd become a broker. I mean, I knew of him, but I'd never been on a boat that he had sold or had a listing with him or anything. I started with Allied Marine back, which was over at Bahia Mar, which I think they still have an office in that area. And then I went and worked for Merrill Stevens for a couple of years. So I've been with Kevin at Northrop & Johnson for over 16 years now.
Very good. So we're here to talk about follow-up boat shows. Let's focus on the upcoming Fort Lauderdale Boat Show. Do you know yet how many boats you'll have there? Yourself?
I either direct or through partnerships will be connected to, I think, 6 boats at the show. It's going to be a heavy show this year.
You'll be busy. That was one of my questions. Your team listings that you do, a lot of it Northrop & Johnson, it makes sense with the larger yachts that you represent. How does that work for boat show follow-up?
So pretty much all of my work I do in a partnership of some form. I'm sharing listings, share clients, and almost all of my work. And that's because you can't be everywhere at once, and invariably overcommitting doesn't lead to a good outcome with clients who are expecting you to be at their beck and call 100% of the time. So how that relates to boat show follow-up and just follow-up in general is there'll be a lead on any particular person or any particular listing. And then from there, when you need help, you call that person in. So there always has to be one person in charge. Otherwise nothing gets done. You have
Very true.
the free rider problem, which in economics 101 isn't a good outcome either. Somebody has to be in charge and responsible for getting it to the end. And then you have the people that assist you throughout the process. And, when you can't be there, you can't be two places at once. So typically, if I have a listing and I'm the person in charge, I'm leading that effort to get follow-up done, making sure that every possible lead is followed up on, making sure the client is informed of what's going on. And then, but you make sure that your backup is introduced to the people so that it's not just a cold walk-in if they have to take over for you because you had to go to Europe for a deal or you had to go to Asia for a deal or whatever. It's a smooth transition. So
do you ever leave the show? I suppose you have that ability when you've got a partner on a listing. Lauderdale Boat Show, you got to run to LMC to show boats. Do you try
Yep.
not to do that, or I plant myself at the show.
Okay. I play follow the leader.
Okay.
So whoever is my responsibility for that given day, that given hour, if they need to go out of the show, if I can't do it because I have a commitment somewhere else, I get one of my partners to do it. There's a lot of boats out and around the show. Some of them aren't even for sale. You're just trying to maybe even get an example of something. I don't leave the show for extraneous reasons, but there's just sometimes you got to do it, and I will if I need to.
On that point, when you sold my Crescent, the Impetuous, I think you scheduled a closing for during the boat show. So I had to leave the boat show for almost a whole day without a partner. But we got it closed, right?
Yeah, and I don't know that I was in charge of that schedule. That might have been in the attorney's hands at that point. But again, there's a great example. Would you delay a closing just because you had a boat show? No, exactly. You get it done
because it's a closing, it's not a show.
Time kills deals. Right. How many times have we heard that? And it could be a boat show. It could be. You can think of a million different little things that could go wrong in that 3 days just because you wanted to wait until after the boat show. So when a closing can happen, you make the closing happen, period.
So for me, follow-up starts when I shake the hand of the prospect that comes aboard. Clients, they ask me if I gamble. Do I gamble at a casino? No. Do you gamble at a casino?
Sadly, I love to gamble, but
okay, well,
I wouldn't say I'm good at it, but I do enjoy doing it.
I gamble with my time at the boat shows, and every day that I'm a yacht broker is a gamble. You have to pick the right horse, and at a boat show, you're faced with a multitude of people coming aboard your boat, and sometimes at the same time, and that's how I gamble. I have learned which direction to go with that client, and of course the follow-up that ensues. So let's say the number changes every year with Informable. Let's say there's 100,000 people coming to the show. I think it's a good average of people that actually buy tickets and come to the gate. So I'm willing to bet that you're going to have Valiner, your 50-meter Westport there. You'll probably have the Richmond, Calliope there. And let's just say you only have 2 boats.
Okay.
And you're going to, with your partners, work those boats. You're going to be there as much as you can.
Yep.
So if you're lucky, you have 20 qualified visits a day. That doesn't include me coming to show the Crescent. These are people that you can work. So you might have 100 if all 5 days were as good as they could be in the same. So you got 100 names that and you know half of them because you're a newbie. The people come and go to the boat show. You see them every year. So what would you say of those 100 names you're going to give your highest level of follow-up? And obviously we want to follow up everything, but there's people that you're going to put over here just because that's nature of the business. So what would you say from those 100 qualified leads? How many can you?
5.
5.
Yeah. It's a very small number.
Yeah.
Of people that are ready, kind of willing and able. And I mean, on any given year, sure, it could be a little bit more. It's interesting. I mean, I've had years where I walked away and I felt like there was nothing, right? I mean, you do have those years where you're still following up with people that express some interest. They were aboard. It's also, so I've never heard it expressed in terms of gambling, like you just said, which is good. For me, I studied economics. It's you're allocating resources, right? You have a scarce resource, which is your time. And it's not just your time. You're allocating the resources of your client's time. He has his boat there. And trying to make sure that you're free, the boat's free for when that one person comes through is actually ready, willing, and able is an important part of preparing, and then identifying who those people are so you can follow up is also equally important. And the weird thing about boat shows, as you know, is whether you're qualified or not, it's easy to get excited. I mean, these boats are cool. They're big, they're luxurious, and they're in their most perfect condition. The crew's all standing there. The experience is incredible. And so even if you're not qualified, it's easy to get super excited and talk like you are. And how do you ferret through those people in the course, not only of the show, but then the subsequent? Now, that excitement tends to wane even for qualified people a little bit after the show. I find it interesting. And you're playing that, you're doing that gambling throughout the show. And then I guess it's time to turn over the cards when the show's over, right? I mean, the people that return calls or say, and I talked to my wife, or I talked to my husband, or, maybe it's not the right time. I have a real estate deal. All that stuff happens on Monday,
right?
Tuesday.
Right.
And then you're left, kind of with your whole card. And then you see, okay, how many people do I actually have? And it's a process, which if you're not careful, you can end up with nothing at the end, especially if you don't spend your time wisely up front.
Sure. Well, look, if you have 6 boats, so you're going to have 30 people.
Well, I would
to
hope.
Work with. So let's go back to 5 people. What is your method of dealing with those 5 hot leads? You got 30 over here and 40 over here, but you got 5 on the right side of your desk. Those leads.
So like you, I think the good follow-up begins at the time you're actually talking to them, right? As a salesperson, the odds of being on that boat with the exact right person at that moment and ending up with a closing, as we know during boat shows, is pretty slim. What you're trying to do is find the right boat for them and also find the right person to buy that boat. So you're with the people that you're following up, you're obviously going to be pressing the strong points of the boat that they came to visit. We can use Valinor. It's a great boat, a Westport 50 meter, and it's an easy boat to brag about. So you're pressing that point and hoping to find that right person that fits and is ready to go. But for those that aren't and they're looking for something a little bit different, that half an hour you have with them aboard will make all the difference in the world in terms of how you're able to follow up. It's not only just in terms of building a rapport, making sure they understand that you're qualified to sell them a boat, right? You're interviewing for a job every time you bring somebody on, as well as trying to sell them that boat. And so the more you can accomplish in that 30 minutes will make the follow-up easier, right? Are they going to pick up the phone when you called, or is it just some guy they met? Because they will most likely, if they're at the show, unless you strike up some kind of a relationship where you walk with them the rest of the show, which occasionally happens, they're going to meet another
They're going to meet
15
10,
or 20 of you and I. And the people that make the best impression are the ones they're most likely to pick up the phone from. So you never even get to follow up if you don't start with a good impression up front. So my suggestion to people that I work with is pay attention to what you're doing now, because that's going to make all the difference in terms of how they respond afterward. And it's not just in terms of developing rapport either. You might you might spend the time making suggestions that hit home with them, right? It's like, maybe this boat's a little bit too big for you. Maybe the boat's a little too small for you, even better. So that when you do follow up, you're already kind of directed or redirected the conversation to a better landing place for them. But having said all that, it's like the goal for my owner of Valinor, when I have the boat there, is to sell that. And so first and foremost, rather than just try and find everybody a boat, is, narrow that list of, call it 100 people you might meet at the show, to the 5 most likely prospects, and do everything you can to sell the boat for that owner. So the follow-up, again, is being prepared, knowing the comps, who is that boat competing against, which that's super helpful in a boat show, even before follow-up, is so you can say, this boat is better than the other 2 you're probably going to see in the boat show because of this reason. So when they go aboard, they actually can look at that boat and say, yeah, that is a weak point. That's why Valinor is better. Paint job, decor, layout, whatever it happens to be. If you don't get a chance to do that and they go see the other boat and they don't notice those points, you don't differentiate yourself. Again, this is all kind of pregame stuff to set yourself up so you're successful with your follow-up, right? If you have to explain that after, you've had a missed opportunity. If they saw the boat and they didn't notice it in person and you're saying, well, but did you notice this? That's a missed opportunity. So the goal would be to try and nail as many of those points as you can, so that when this is the broker of Valinor, I want to pick up this call because I really like that boat. It was the best one because all these reasons. So I like you think that most follow-up starts at the beginning. The rest of it, if you do it right, it is easier. Otherwise, it's a bit of a heavier lift.
So you have your method, which sounds very successful. Does Northman Johnson bring anything to the table that the machine of Northman Johnson is going to help you with?
Yeah, they're great. I mean, from us, what I need from Northman Johnson, which they do very well, is a lot of the marketing and organizational stuff, so they can make sure that I'm free when I need to be. That from a marketing and kind of PR perspective, the right people saw that boat, so they come to the show. They know about me, hopefully in advance. They know about the boat in advance, and they come there rather than just the people we have these do. They walk down the dock. We have a great dock presence, right? So they walk down and people are like, oh, I wonder what they've got for sale. They'll know that it's good quality boats.
That's a very good point.
I think that's a huge help. But the subtle part of it, again, is the organizational. The people at the front that know when somebody walks up, they don't just grab me for somebody that is looking for a totally 50-foot sport fish. And that way, when somebody does come up looking for Valinor, I'm free. I'm able to take them through the boat, or at least connect them with the captain, whatever. That's a big part of it. And you need good people around you. I mean, we always say we're selling these boats you don't sell it to one person. There's the owner, the owner's family, the owner's captain, probably you got the surveyors, you got all these people, you have to, their attorney, their friends. And from our side, I don't think you can be successful, or it's harder to be successful on your own. It's a team effort, which is, why I work the way I do and why I'm with the company I am with.
Paved the way well.
Yeah, it helps.
One of the things that I do when I have a prospect come aboard, I start my gamble, and I decide, which smaller boats, there's likely maybe 2 groups at the same time, and I have a hostess and on the boat, and I have to figure out, I interview them. You had said we're being interviewed, but I interview them. Yeah. And, am I going to invest my time with you or that guy down the dock that I saw, last year? It was good. So one of the things I do is you sign in with your email. You're going to get a letter from me, a listing, photos, a GA, before you're off the dock.
Yeah.
So nobody wants to carry about a bunch of listings, especially my listings,
Yeah.
which are a little thick.
That's part of my team, what I mentioned earlier. They take
Yeah.
care of all that for me so I can focus on the boat.
Yep.
Yep.
But I write a letter, specific to each boat I might have in the show, and say that if this isn't the right boat, I'll help you find the right boat. And that seems to work well for me. So we talked about boat show stories a little bit, and I wish it was a funny story, but we're not here for funnies. We're here for success. And boat shows used to be a lot more productive. I think it was 1998, Miami show. I had 6 boats in the show. And granted, they weren't huge boats. I got an offer on every single boat at the show.
Wow.
I was amazed. That doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, it's actually funny. I mean, we'll go through boat shows, and a lot of boats don't get any offers. I find my general rule is if a deal comes together at the show, it's probably going to fall apart within days after the show. The real deals happen after people go home, talk to their accountant,
right,
and they make their offer
right,
that following week or the second week. Those are the ones that stick. Trying to come up with a great boat show story where somebody walked in, they bought it the first day, you closed within 2 weeks of the show. I don't have that personal experience myself, and I don't hear a lot of people bragging about it, so I know it is super rare. There's so much information out there, and people are cautious, and they're not only cautious personally, but they're handled by people that help them make smart decisions, which generally mean some kind of a thoughtful process, which takes time. It's not just walk up to the show, have your couple of drinks, and say, I'll take it. It does happen, but it's a little bit like the lightning strike thing, right? It's like, you've heard of it, but it just is, it's not something you'll see every day or every show.
I've been doing this long enough that things have changed. We used to sell information. We don't sell information anymore. We now sell boats.
Yeah, right.
The information's all out there.
Yeah.
But we used to own that information.
Yeah, but it's actually interesting. What's happened in our business is actually it's flipped around now. There's actually so much information. It's not so much about owning the information. It's about refining it to a point that somebody can digest and feel like they're making a good decision.
Right now, there's too much information.
There's too much. It used to be, right? You'd fax they'd get their little fax brochure, the same way offers came in on fax. And that they would get so little information that it was already prepackaged. Now there is so much noise. And the problem is there's so much erroneous information out there as well that it makes people nervous. So what they search for is somebody that they can trust, right? Because ultimately, whatever the information is you have on the piece of paper, they're going to look in your eye and they're going to want to know they're making a good deal. Right. It doesn't mean people don't make bad decisions. I mean, that happens in any business, but to get comfortable with all the information that's out there and all the possible boats you could buy, big ones, little ones, old ones, new ones, fiberglass, steel, aluminum, whatever, pick all these bits of information, being able to package that up in a way and say, you know what, I think this is the right, and it's usually not one boat. These are the right 3 to consider, and these are the reasons you might pick between the 3, is the skill set, rather than just getting the listing and being the only one that can hand it out. And so it's a different skill set, which is why I think probably a lot of younger people will do well, right? They're used to, and there's information on Instagram or whatever, all these new mediums for doing advertising and getting that information out there. Being able to package that in a way that somebody can understand and trust that's our business.
I think I may have been just talking to the old Wes with a quantitative analysis career.
Yeah, those were the days. But most anybody that is on the buying or selling side of the table, these guys have made a lot of money, super successful,
sure,
obviously be able to afford a boat. They talk to salespeople all the time, whether it's in their personal life or in their business life, and they're used to dealing with that and analyzing and assessing whether somebody is full of it or whether they're actually capable and qualified to do it. And so, you're already out the door before you're in it if you don't come prepared, right, with that information in a way that's readily understandable, right? Anticipate the questions that they're going to ask, so that when they ask them, you're not looking like deer in headlights, right? That's all part of that kind of pre-prep for boat show, which sets you up so you're going to be good with the follow-up, I suppose. But people forget who they're talking to in our business a lot, particularly young people, right? Yeah. You don't remember that these people are very successful and very astute at ferreting out BS.
I have a rule of thumb that probably shouldn't paint it with a broad brush, but anybody with more money than me is probably a lot smarter than me. It's a good way to go. It's a good assumption to start with.
Right. You're better to start from there than the other. I mean, it's not always true, but they, obviously if they do have the money, the capability to buy a yacht, they're talking to a lot of people who are either trying to get them to invest in something, get them to buy something, like I said, either personally or professionally. And so they're used to pitches, and your pitch better be good.
That's right. I think that we've pretty well covered our topic, and this information hopefully will help brokers on the way up the ladder. I think it's be ready, know the market, be aware,
work hard,
plan your follow-up well before the boat show. Yeah. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. And we have other interesting topics that will follow. We'll be right back after this commercial.
Thanks for your time, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Hey everybody, Boat Docs is live. It's the only document processing system built by the industry for the industry. Boat Docs provides yacht brokers with a secured process to easily create, execute, and store your listing transaction documents and data. Your buyer and seller information is private and will never be sold, used, or solicited to. You can customize your dashboard and documentation for every transaction. You can even sync your data with your listings on yachtbroker.org to eliminate redundant data entry for your team. Start simplifying your yacht transactions today. Go to www.boatdocs.org.
I'd like to welcome everybody back to our IYBA Pro Series, and this is going to feature everything about AI, artificial intelligence. I'd like to welcome my panel. We have Olivier Solon, who has led marketing efforts and operations at James Ross, and also joining us is Sarah Shake. She is the founder of Vacancy, a creative agency based in downtown Fort Lauderdale, and also has been assisting IYBA through the recent rebranding and helped also with the brand Yachter. So I'd like to welcome both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it's interesting. AI is a new buzzword, but it's definitely more than a buzzword. And so the first thing I did this morning is I went to ChatGPT and I put in, what does AI stand for? The ability of machines or software to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, such as learning, reasoning, problem solving, understanding language, or recognizing patterns. So is this going to replace us? That's kind of all the human and mental thoughts and everything else. What is AI to you guys?
Well, to me, AI is really just a resource, right? Just the same way that the internet was a resource to us. It's a new tool. And if we learn how to use it correctly and to implement it, effectively, it's only going to make us better at our jobs, whatever those are. So I think it's scary because there's a lot of unknowns and there's a lot of, yet to be explored capabilities and the idea of robots in our house and things like that can seem kind of scary, but I think it's like anything else. It's new, and the people that are going to be open to it, embrace it, are going to be the ones that find the most success with it.
I like the word that you use, tool, which is it is a tool, and that's something I'm just starting to learn.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Tool, an extension, a robotic arm, if you may. It is definitely not going anywhere. So if you're not going to adapt, then you will get left behind, of course. But at the same time, I understand why it could be scary. There are a lot of unknowns, but the only way you're gonna beat that is just get familiar with it. Just dive right in.
So as we enter AI into the next world or the new world, and all of us need to embrace this, how's it going to help our community, from the yacht brokers and sales? How's it going to make me a better broker, more knowledgeable? Why shouldn't I be afraid of it?
I think as a salesman, you can't be replaced because you are the holder of knowledge. You have the experience. I mean, even in the sense of AI, it's brand new. It's not even old enough to think about the extent that broker knowledge would go. But at the same time, you use it as a tool to learn more. And I actually think it's going to affect marketers even more than the sales team. We are going to be the ones implementing the programs, the automations, setting up the systems and processes, and verifying information is correct or not. The sales team is going to benefit from all of that. But I would, again, just use it as a tool to learn more, whether it be about a brand that you're not familiar with, it's out of your wheelhouse, that a prospect came and asked you, what do you think about this? You have no excuse anymore. Pretty much, that's how I would describe it.
I think everyone has parts of their job that they love, and everyone has parts of their job that they do because they have to. And if you can look at AI as a tool to take care of some of those parts of your job that you do because you have to, the things that are labor intensive and time consuming, take a lot of research and planning, this is where AI can come in and free you up for more of the things that make you a better broker, that make you a better, salesperson. So I think that if you look at it that way, it's only an enhancement to what you're already doing, and it can boost your productivity just by so much.
No, I think it's amazing because here we're entering into, we call it boat shows season, right? And our time is so valuable, and sometimes it gets caught in different areas and it wastes a lot of time. And being a broker or a salesman, whatever title that is we do more when we're in front of our clients, not when we're behind our desk and typing things and things like that. So, gosh, I can't believe it's already September. We got Fort Lauderdale boat shows coming up at the end of October. Summer's over. It's time to get back to work. And we need to start planning right away. So as a broker coming into boat show season, when should I start using AI to help me plan for the show, or what steps can I use going into a boat show to help save time, to help plan things differently? What ideas do you guys have?
I think with any planning, with any marketing, more time is better, right? So I would recommend starting, no less than 90 days out. If you can do 6 months out, I mean, obviously there's a ton of planning that goes on year round, but for those kind of specific prospecting, appointment setting initiatives, more time is always better. So there are literally 1 million ways you could use AI to help you. But, if I was going into boat show season, I would put in some stats from last year. I would say, these are the boats we had in the show. These were the appointments we were able to set. If I wanted to increase this by 25%, what are the tactics that I should start right now to do that? And it might give you, and say, I need a 90-day plan. And it would actually architect that for you. Now, whether or not you decide to implement that is a different story, but it can give you a very specific marketing plan based on benchmarks from previous years and goals that you have, in front of you, to actually create a marketing strategy and tell you what tactics you should employ between now and then.
So we know you're only going to get out of what you put into it. Mm-hmm. So how would you suggest for somebody like myself getting started with AI? So we got a boat show 60 days out. You mentioned 6 months, so I'm way behind the 8 ball. Okay, so where do I start? Besides using ChatGPT and asking it a question, getting an answer, what are the further steps that we can take?
Well, Sarah mentioned it earlier today. The ChatGPT has a extended feature where you can do a deep dive. I would suggest checking out what the competitive landscape looks like. If you're late, see what your competitors are doing. How early did they get started? Mm-hmm. Compare it to what your marketing efforts look like. how can that help you having an edge maybe coming into the show? Start right there. Let's start with you also mentioned it earlier. This isn't a Google on steroids. Just use it for research. There has to be plenty of questions that are unanswered at this moment leading into the show. Use it.
And how about marketing?
Yeah, I would say don't underestimate what this engine can do for you. So what I would do is, hey, here's my top 3 competitors. Here are my strengths, or here are, the features of the boats that I have that maybe nobody else has. Figure out where, we call it vacancy, obviously, which is the name of my company, but figure out where your lane is. Where is the space that you can own? And then just challenge, ChatGPT to say, hey, I waited too long. How do I catch up? You can actually give it kind of these real world prompts to say, I need to make up for lost time. What should I do? And it'll give you a pretty detailed response to that.
Well, you mentioned, I think just before this started, that you obviously use it nonstop, but just talking to it. It's almost like talking to your counterpart or whatever the case is, and it's going to respond, and it's going to keep on going deeper and deeper and deeper.
I think that that's probably been the biggest change of perspective for me, is because you can just talk to it like another person. And if they take you a little bit down the wrong path, you can always you can self-correct, right? So you can say, no, I don't really want to go that way. I'm thinking more of this. And they'll immediately change focus. And that's, I think, one of the really interesting things about it is eventually with the right prompts and guidance, you'll get to the result that you're looking for.
How do we also use it to market to prospects before a show? What are some different ideas we could approach as we want to get people to the show, obviously?
Of course. Let's say you have some hot prospects that have showed up at the show last year. Again, AI is only as good as what you put into it. So if your data was lackluster from last year, good luck. So maybe that's going to set you up for this year, knowing that the more data you have, the more ammo you have, and you can feed it to ChatGPT. Hey, this particular person or family likes these boats. I've been reaching out to them throughout the year. I know they'll be at the show. I want to set up an appointment with them, and let's see if I can get them to see what they want to see, and maybe tailor and customize an experience for that prospect that's so hot. I would start with that.
Okay. Now, obviously, planning is very important, and you get out what you put into it. So we're trying to get ready for boat show season, so we want to put as much effort as we can. Let's just say it's the night before the show. We're all getting ready. A lot of people use different terms from football and everything else. It's game day. It's exhausting. We have a couple of days, or I should say a couple of days. It's 4 or 5 days, depending on the show, to make the sun come out and do incredible things. So how do we use AI? And it doesn't just have to be ChatGPT. There's other arms out there. There's all different companies. That's the only one I've tried so far. But as the show's starting, instead of planning for it, how do I use it during the show? How do I use it for helping manage my time, my results, everything?
I think that this is a little bit of a client by client thing. You would have to kind of figure out if people are comfortable with this or not. And of course, every client relationship is very nuanced, but the implementation of note-taking apps. So if a client is open to you, recording a conversation so that you can follow up with it. I know that's a little...
Is that illegal?
No, it's not illegal. If, you see it a lot in Zoom calls and things like that where they'll create a transcript.
But doesn't it say that you're being recorded?
It does. But no, you would have to you would obviously have to ask.
You can't just record somebody's conversation without telling them.
I would not recommend that.
Okay,
yeah. But no, you could take note-taker apps, or you could use a note-taker app to kind of recount the conversation, or you could simply, if you're finishing a conversation, speak into a note-taker app so that you're able to appropriately follow up on that conversation and not kind of lose the details. Because at a show, you're probably talking to 20, 30, 40 people a day, right? It's difficult. And that's one of those lost opportunities is how do I keep all of this information organized so that I can appropriately follow up and ultimately convert them, right? If it's not happening on the spot. So I think that it can help in advance of keeping those appointments organized, but also managing the details of each of those interactions.
So you mentioned note-taking apps. Give me some ideas. What are they?
I think one of them is otter.ai. So that will summarize your conversation and send you a transcript of it.
Okay.
And there's lots of different ones. So you could even do like a voice memo and then put that into ChatGPT. So again, anything that you're comfortable with just to get the information, you can always put that into an engine after the fact.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you have internet at the show, then it might help you. But if not, I think what we can do is, again, you have all your notes from that prospect walking in. You can chat with the AI about lead scoring. Is this worth my time, or should I even bump this up to the senior broker? But I would say all of that to still say it's just a tool, and it's not going to replace the human element of what we're doing. You're at the show. You're in front of people. That's where you need to be. You know, I don't see brokers really using AI in those moments until maybe after. You know, you have some information, play with it, and maybe you'll get something out of it. But to be honest, like at this moment, unless you're taking information from a front desk and throwing it into ChatGPT and integrating it with your CRM and then using that. But those systems are kind of already in place with some of the major brokerage houses. So AI is only going to enhance your data. But for right now, I think you're still going to be hands-on.
So an example in the show, you know, we're always wondering, is the person walking through the door or walking in on our booth or anything like that, is the guy real? Is he just out here to, you know, look at boats? Is he having fun? He bought a ticket and he gets to see everything. Can AI help us qualify people? Can it let us know that now there's John Doe or John Smith or whatever, there's a million out there, but will AI eventually get to the point where it will qualify the leads for us? Or what's available today to even do that?
What we did last year, actually for Flibs, was give the front desk a questionnaire.
Okay.
We just generated with AI based on conversations we had with brokers.
Do you remember the questions?
I could send it to you after. I don't remember right now, but you can imagine what, you know, the kind of information you'd want to see from a tire kicker. You know, he's walking in, or they think that you might. You're on the fence with the way they look a little different these days, apparently. So that the hot prospect could look like a less ideal image that you would have for what you think the guy's going to be able to afford. But then don't judge a book by its cover.
I was going to say, will AI make that mistake? Will that lead us down the wrong path?
I don't know that you're going to be able to qualify somebody in real time, right? But definitely using it leading up to the show. Like, we're about to launch a campaign for a client specifically for Flibs, and we're going to use a lead form that does its best. It's not necessarily AI driven, but we're going to use a lead form to try to pre-qualify the lead as much as possible. How you organize that data on the back end, you could summarize using AI. I think we're still a bit away from, you know, AI being able to qualify a lead that walks in. That's going to be more, I think, you know, that face-to-face kind of interaction there.
Okay. So as a broker, now that's on the lead side, as a broker, how do I use AI to manage my well-being better? Time. We talked about note-taking and things like that just to kind of keep organized, but what else can I do to kind of help myself or make myself a better time, even better at asking questions to the clients? How do I make myself better using AI at the show?
Stay curious. Use it to reinforce what you think you know and to introduce to you what you don't, because I just take it for what it is. Still need to do your research. You still need to fact check it. You need to make sure that this AI is not saying is saying the same thing as the other AI. And I always cross check. And then I'll do a Google search on top of that. And it's not removing the human element. You still need to ask your questions and have that genuine connection.
I would say, obviously, not all brokers are created equal in terms of the level of sophistication with technology, right? So certain people are going to have a way of doing things that they've always done it like that, and they're not really interested in changing it. And that's maybe part of their brand. But I think for people that are interested in embracing technology, embracing AI, then you have to find ways to integrate it into your current sales approach, right? So if you have kind of a process for a new lead, whether that's something that you've created or something that your CRM reminds you to do, you can use AI to enhance those pieces. But if it's not in place already, then it's going to be a lot more legwork to get there. So one of the recommendations that we had made prior was start using the AI tools that already exist within the platforms you're using, because that's going to be an easier barrier to entry, but it's, you're going to be more comfortable because these are platforms you're already using, and just easier integration with the sales process.
So how do I integrate also, not just with our sales process, is for the smaller groups, is AI ready to convert into their CRM? Do all CRMs have that integration already? And so, which is important at a boat show, of course.
If they don't, they definitely will. They definitely will. One of the major CRMs is HubSpot. They just recently introduced 3 different features with AI, agents, intelligence, and Breeze. It allows you to enhance your data. It'll do the searches for you based on the information input, and it'll scour the web. If the guy has a profile or LinkedIn, it's going to pull the information as well. Now, this is relatively new, and I'm really excited on getting deeper into it. But I can also see that the agents on the CRM will start doing these workflows for you. You just give it a prompt, it'll create something, a system, a workflow, and it's there. Before it took, however long it took, is now half the time.
So AI agents, I know wasn't on our list of
scary.
things. Yeah, and I think it is pretty new, and I think
Yeah.
people are still getting used to that. But imagine having an assistant that never took a day off, never got sick, never slept. And that's what AI agents will be able to do for you. So imagine that every email that you have when you wake up in the morning has already a drafted response. And all you have to do is check it off and hit send. So that is the power of not just AI, but what an AI agent can do for you. And I think that we're seeing that a lot with somebody like you who's managing tons of clients and tons of accounts and things like that. Who maybe already has an assistant, right? These AI virtual assistants and the AI agents are going to be a game changer for busy salespeople.
No doubt. And I think I even at a boat show, exactly, because we don't have time to really, well, I shouldn't say we don't, but it takes a lot to draft an email, draft a follow-up, draft everything in the middle of a boat show, trying to meet new people and everything else, and having that extra legwork right behind you, because as we know, it's the last day of the show. And I'm looking at my lead cards that are stacked this high. And who's the most important, and who's, sometimes you don't always get to every single person. And old saying at the time, kills all deals, right? So being active during the show, I think, is really, really important to stay active. And then there's always that Monday morning, the day after the show. Okay, you're exhausted. You're just out in the sun, baking in the sun, and you're dehydrated, and just all you want to do is sleep in that morning. And so how is AI going to help me the day after the boat show to kind of move forward? We talked about the continuing follow-up, but what else can it do?
I think it's really good at crunching data. Okay. So all your cards, if that was digital, you had an Excel sheet, you can dump it in there and say, I need to find patterns. Just push it as far as you can in trying to say, hey, listen, I want to score my leads.
Give me an example.
The amount of time maybe, or the amount of boats that somebody see. Okay, they looked at all 4 of your boats on display, versus those who really came to see one particular brand that you had. That guy's really interested in that model. What was that conversation like? If they can take those notes and put it in there, let's segment my stack of cards, and please, let me refrain from using please, because apparently we're not supposed to be nice to AI anymore. but you ask it to give me the higher priority contacts that I need to get in touch with now on Monday. And then, again, no excuse for not going over all of your list, but at least you can use it to filter out a little bit and get to the higher priority clients first.
But I would say if used correctly, you don't have to choose, right? Because again, if you're getting to the level of sophistication that where you're really fully maximizing the power of these tools, you don't have to choose which lead you're going to follow up with, because every lead can be followed up with in 5 minutes.
Yep.
So I think that, to your point, the time kills all leads. That's what we're looking at, is how quickly, when a lead comes in, can we follow up with it using AI? So whether it's triggering an answering service or a call center or an automated email through a CRM, you don't have to wait anymore, and you don't have, because realistically leads need to be followed up with almost immediately. So I think that that's the key, is that like in a perfect world, if you're utilizing AI properly, like you can sleep in on that Monday morning after the boat show, because all of your emails should be sitting there drafted, waiting, and you have the power to, do all the follow-ups necessary.
I want to piggyback off that because the automations technically should already be in place.
Right.
Before AI, you should be receiving some kind of automated email. But I think AI will allow us to tailor that experience for that particular client or prospect a little bit further.
Because when I get the automated emails, it's delete, delete,
Exactly.
delete. It's, you don't have that personal touch.
Exactly.
And AI is going to help.
Yeah,
the
and
personal touch.
if we're talking about pre-show, during show, and post-show, by far the most work is pre-show.
Yes.
Right? Because if you're setting everything up pre-show, to your point, the automations with your CRM, the prompts, knowing exactly, who you have on your books, the during the show and the post-show should be, in theory, pretty seamless if you've done the legwork up front.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So at what point do we push back on artificial intelligence, and say that that really is the broker's responsibility? I mean, at a certain point, you don't want it trying to do everything for you, because then it becomes an automated email, or it doesn't have that personal touch. So what's too much? Well, for you guys, it might not be any. Probably it's unlimited.
No, there
but
definitely is. No, there definitely
Yeah.
is too much, right? I think it's, I come from a hospitality background. And so I think that especially with, high net worth clients and things like that, like they are not going to be satisfied speaking to what feels like a robot, right?
Yes.
They want to know that I'm working with you and that you've taken care of it. And so I think that it's really, from the customer service approach, from the hospitality approach, you can't fake that, right? And so, that's how we look at it, is when you have AI is not going to exceed anyone's expectations. It's going to check a box. It's going to be your job as the broker, as the expert, to exceed someone's expectations when you are able to see the opportunity, right? AI isn't going to find that opportunity for you. So I think that, but the idea is, if all of those other tasks are taken care of, then you have more time to focus on creating a truly exceptional experience for someone and focusing on that hospitality. That, I think, number one, there's a huge return to that happening, especially in the luxury markets, and that will never be replaced.
Yeah, there's no way. Even with all of the exciting new things that I see AI developing lately, you can't replace that experience. I would say maybe even a little deeper, and we mentioned it earlier. For example, you learned about a hobby or interest from a prospect that you don't have any idea about. You might get an edge on your next conversation just having a little familiarity with that topic. Again, no excuses. So if it's there, use it.
No, I think that's kind of a great resting point. Is at a certain point, there's nothing that does more than a personal touch.
Mhm.
That personal phone call, that personal lunch, whatever that case may be. But even today, we're so wrapped up in text messages, WhatsApp, and everything else that the personal touch, it's never going to replace that. It's not going to replace a broker. It's not going to replace that.
What I would say on top of all of this, the expectations for your clients are probably going to be a lot higher because they have the same access we do. So if you're not the one using it, they'll find somebody who's using it. Don't be the guy.
Well, that person's going to be better. They're not going to know what it is, but they're going to feel like that other person does have a leg up there, whether it's more responsive, whether it's a better written email, no matter what it is, it's going to make that person appear to be twice what a person that's not using it is. Any final thoughts, comments, fears?
No, I don't think there's anything to be afraid of. I think, similar to what I said at the beginning, I think it's start integrating it into your everyday in ways that you feel comfortable with. And I think before long, as you start to test it with more and more kind of serious inquiries, you'll see that this is a pretty amazing tool. That's how I felt. I was really against AI for a long time. And I would say probably, 18 months ago, I really started to implement it, and we've seen great success. And I think, there's nothing to be afraid of, and you can always start small.
Starting small, easy. If it doesn't get more comfortable than speaking into the phone. Writing a prompt is a little different mindset, but start with that. Just get it on your phone, speak to it, and be impressed by what it gives you. Don't take it for 100% truth, but do what you have to do it to get to where you feel comfortable, and you don't want to be on the other side of it. I can only say it's going to get better. It's going to get better inevitably. Every day we're feeding it. It's going to happen. So.
And any age. This is not like a tool for Gen X. You know, this is not any age. Like we had a client who was 75 and she started using it and she loved it. So it's accessible to everyone. And it's not just for people, you know, under 30 years old. This is something that everybody can benefit from.
The basic version is free. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free. Why wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
So, well, guys, I want to thank you very much, Sarah, Olivia, the experts in the artificial intelligence arena.
Thank you.
And of course, if anybody needs some particular help, you can easily reach out to these guys. And thank you again. We'll see you at the boat show.
Thank you.
See you, Flips.
Yachter is the marine industry's own public-facing, lead-generating advertising site. Yachter provides real information about real boats in real time. Yachter is a marketplace where the public can be assured of receiving curated information about boats that are only listed by professionals. It is a modern platform that gives users a unique experience when shopping for their next boat. Boats advertised on Yachter are fed directly from the industry's MLS, yachtbroker.org, and your listings won't be relegated to obscurity because you were outspent by your competition. Yachter offers the industry a level playing field. Leads from clients viewing Yachter come directly to the listing broker with no ability for another company to advertise your listings. Yachter delivers an intelligent, intuitive, and modern platform for the public to find their next boat. For more information on how you and your brokerage can make the most of your leads and sales using Yachter, give us a call at 954-522-9270 or email us at info@yachter.com. Hi, and welcome back to the IYBA Pro Webinar Series. My name is Grant Henderson with Burgess Yachts. I'm also the president of IYBA. I'm here with Mike Scalisi of HMY Yachts. Our segment today, we're going to talk about what it's like after a boat show and how you prepare and what you do after a boat show. So in the near coming future, we have the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show at the end of October. We've had 5 probably very hot days, grueling days, long days, but it's over. So Mike, you finished a boat show. How do you follow up? What's your next step after that 5-day boat show? And also keep in mind, like, obviously HMY, a very big company. You're a dealer of a lot of different lines, and you guys have a ton of brokerage boats. Based off of what you're working, what's your follow-up like after that?
Yeah, so I feel like post-boat show is when the real work begins.
Sure.
You know, you made it through those 5 days, like you said. And now at HMY, like if I was working a new boat display, we have a lot of help. We have a lot of support. We have mobile iPads taking customer information and data to kind of pre-qualify to get on in the display or on a certain boat.
And are you getting those like at real time? Meaning after the customer signs up and then they leave, are you getting that lead? Are you getting that information right away, or is it after the show?
No, it's instantaneous, and the speed of that is super important.
Right, of course.
So I'll be kind of like waiting in the wings at a new boat display. You know, they'll signal that someone would like to see the boat. I'm the next up guy in that scenario. So greeting, nice to meet you, pleasantries, do the boat, walk through, and then when they're gone and I have, a couple minutes to figure things out, I'll look in my phone and I'll get a message saying it was Jim and Jan Smith, blah, 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 and their email. I'll immediately send them like a thank you text message. Just for, the sooner you touch them and say thank you, the better. Yeah. So I'll immediately follow up with a text message. They may even get an email automated through HMY thanking them, but I want to send something personally as well. So on that level, like the one-on-one, that happens. And then, at the end of the day, I'll spend, an hour after the show sitting down, decompressing, sorting through, and maybe prioritizing the leads of the day.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I got 10 leads today. These people were interested in, pontoon boats from Arkansas, and they were just at the boat show having fun.
Sure. Yeah.
Cool. They can discard that and focus on the higher priority stuff. And that's when, then I want to reach out on all levels.
Right.
I'll call, hopefully I'll get them.
Yep.
If not, voicemail, email, text message. And my mission at that point is to try to find what way they communicate the best.
Right.
Right?
Because everybody's different,
Sure.
especially with different generations of buyers out there. It's
Like
total.
nobody would ever have thought like a text message is so impersonal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But now sometimes
But
it's the
now
only way.
the speed of that and the ease of that,
Correct.
I've found my customers, it's easy. I'll get a reply. I'll leave 3 voicemails. Nobody calls me back.
People don't even listen
Email,
to
forget
voicemails
about
these
it. That
days.
takes
Yeah.
too much time. But
Yeah.
if I send a text message or something, boom, and I get a reply, okay, they communicate that way.
Yeah.
And I'll gauge my follow-up to that specific person the way they want to be communicated with. I mean, does that translate in the bigger like super yacht world as well? Or?
Yeah. Well, I've kind of stuck between, or my niche has been 30, 50 meters, I would guess, over the last few years. But I've been in the same position where I've worked for a dealer where it's a volume game essentially, and you're just getting people in the door. And it's the same thing. You're going through a handful of leads and you're prioritizing which ones are real, which ones need information right off the bat. Generally speaking, and I may have a 120-foot boat in Fort Lauderdale this year. And so when somebody comes on board for that, same thing, that they get the automated message as soon as they leave. And a lot of those people will come with brokers nowadays.
Sure, especially in that size.
Yeah, for
they're
sure.
almost pre-qualified to begin with.
Yeah.
So you don't
right. But it's also important, like, what did we discuss on the boat? What was important? And what were they asking for? A fuel curve? Were they asking for a maintenance history?
Are you making notes along the way?
Maybe in my phone I try to,
Right.
but you don't want to look like you're sitting there taking notes. But obviously during the showing, you're taking mental notes at least of what is important to them, what they need. So following that showing, that broker is getting that information that the client needs immediately after that. And then it's, generally the next day there's a follow-up with them. So I think it really depends on kind of what you're working at a boat show, whether it's a brokerage boat or whether it's a new boat display, and what type of boats are in there will base the follow-up. But I definitely agree with you that immediate follow-up is necessary. And the next morning before the boat shows, I like to get to the shows early, get to our display, open up the laptop, and kind of go through everything that I went through that day, the notes that I have on it, and then how I'm going to follow up with them. Each one can be different. There's not a cut and paste for each one. I think each customer or broker that you're dealing with can be different in terms of how the follow-up is.
Right.
But I do think it's important to get to it right away, and then you see what shakes loose out of it.
I like to pull as much information out of the prospect when they're on board to find some sort of like hot button items.
Yeah.
Either on the boat,
Right.
or like, ask a question and just be quiet and listen, right?
Yeah. Right.
2 ears, 1 mouth, ask the question,
Yeah.
and they'll tell you
Right.
what's
Or
important
even
to
if
them.
there's like something that they want to change or something they want to do, and you can source that information and cost for them like relatively quickly, which you can at boat shows because everybody in the industry is working those 5 days, right? So maybe it's even changing some canvas or some covers or some carpet or something like that to be able to say, hey, you talked about you didn't like this. This is something you would change on the boat. Here's those options right here. So
Right.
I
So-
just answered your question right here. You have that information.
So
Maybe
you're
that gets me
you're problem solving
Yeah.
in your follow up, and you're bringing
trying
value.
to. Yeah, whatever
You're
we can
bringing
do.
value to them, saying, "Hey, look, I have the connections for the canvas guy, for the isinglass guy,
Right.
for the teak people, and here's some contacts, those some numbers, and then
maybe that's one hurdle that you've jumped over that gets you closer to them making a potential offer.
Right.
You know, if you can kind of get as much of that out of the way, I found that that's helpful. And whether you're presenting that to the other broker, you're presenting that to directly to the customer, either or, same thing. But, you know, definitely taking mental notes during that showing. So when your follow-up is accurate and it's concise and it's tailored to that person.
Right.
You know, and again, like, you know, some of the smaller boats where you've got a lot of people coming in and it's volume, that's tougher to do because it's hard to remember.
That's
30
turn and,
or 20.
that's turn and burn stuff.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I need to qualify those people in like the first 30 in my introduction to them. You know, it's not just like, oh, look at the shoes,
because you could be wasting
look at
your
the
time
big
sitting with them.
diamond or whatever. It's boom, like quick qualifier questions. Do you own a boat?
Yep.
Okay, you do. Where do you keep it? You know, and
But
you can
sometimes,
tell
too with doing that, like, it's not necessarily always the questions that you ask, it's the questions that they ask.
Oh,
too.
100%.
You know, it's like, is this gas or diesel? It's like,
Oh, all right, thanks.
okay, give
And
you the
then,
nickel tour.
then for me, it's the quick 5 minutes,
Yeah.
zip them through the boat.
Yeah.
Thanks. Find a way to dip out of there as quickly
Right.
as possible,
Right.
so that you can be in a position for the more qualified, better up that's coming
Yeah.
into the display.
Yeah. And I just think it's so important to really have, you know, concise follow-up. And exactly it's tailored to that person. So they know it's not just a mass email. They're going to get that mass email on the boat. Thank you for stopping by.
They're
Burgess.
going
Thank
to
you
get
for
50
stopping-
emails from 50 different guys saying the same
or
stuff.
their brokers, you know,
right?
or whoever's giving the information. So if you have XYZ that you know, things that you can hit that were obstacles for them during that showing, then you can get through those in a follow-up. I mean, that might grab their attention. Maybe it won't. Hopefully it will. But that's a great way to do that. And I agree with you also. You said some interesting is, especially with the newer generation of yacht owners coming in, with guys in their 30s and 40s buying significantly large and expensive boats.
That new wealth.
Yeah, they are.
Younger wealth.
They communicate differently. Like
Yep.
sending them an email. I mean, you might as well just not follow up in a lot of instances. And I've found that they don't answer their phones, but what they do love to do is text message. I mean, I've got a deal going right now with a guy in his late 30s. He's buying a $1.5 million boat. Our communication is solely via text message.
Sure.
I mean, I rarely can get him on the phone because he's pretty busy during the day. But so we need to communicate during the day. It is solely during text message.
On the surface, it sounds so impersonal. You can't like convey emotion with it.
Yeah.
But
Well, there are times when
it's quick.
and when
It's
you need to,
boom,
though,
boom, boom.
I will text him, say,
Yeah.
we need to speak.
Right.
You know, I know like I can't convey this exactly, that emotion or the importance of this, or you're not going to like this, but here's why, and this is how we're going to get through it. Like then I'll just say, hey, let me know when you're free to talk. We will. But
So finding the way that the client or broker on the big boat world, where they're already coming with other brokers, finding the way that they communicate the best will improve your follow-up.
I think it at least improves your percentage and your chances of getting through to them. And
Ups your chances.
because obviously, as you know,
right.
like the
That
boat
makes
that they
sense.
looked at just might not be the boat for them. And maybe you just get a quick reply, hey, thanks for your time, but this is not the boat for us. I wish I would get that more often versus nobody ever responds and you're following up for the next 6 months.
Then you can take the mental notes that you made and say, oh, I understand why this boat wasn't for them, but have I got another boat for you that
Right, yeah,
could
sure,
be the one?
yeah,
And then you switch gears into another direction. I like to pull some personal questions out, kids, grandkids,
Yeah.
what kind of boating experiences have you had? Oh, they love the Bahamas. So then you take the personal stuff, incorporate that into your follow-up. So it's not just dollars and cents
Yeah.
and X's and O's. It's, oh, did you end up going up to college last weekend to visit your daughter that just started at, Georgia? And then it's, then the barriers start to come down a little bit. And then maybe your follow-up can be a little bit more effective and penetrate.
And especially long term, like maybe, when you have that information. I was at a car show a couple of weeks ago, right? And I got a client that he's not buying this year. He's buying hopefully about this time next year, hopefully, right? So me sending him more boats right now just doesn't do anything. But I was at a car show and I saw this car that I knew he liked. So I took a video of it.
100%.
and just sent that to him. And he responded back, "That's awesome." You know, it was a great touch point.
That's follow-up.
For a long, but it's a different type of follow-up. To be able,
yeah.
and you know,
And it's all important.
So to have that information and and enter it into your CRM, which I hate entering anything into a CRM. I hate everything about it. But
Right.
when you do have that information that you can enter your CRM and go back and review that and know that this is what he likes. Here's his daughter's name or his son's name, and this is where they're going to school, whatever, and be able to touch base on something like that outside of boating.
Yep.
Is a great way to follow up for
I'll
those
send
long-term customers.
I'll send holiday text messages, just anything to like switch it up and not have the message be like repetitive.
Well, because unfortunately, everybody that comes to the boat show who is a real buyer is not buying today or tomorrow.
Right.
And now that if you have their attention, you've met them, you have their information, that's a good way to stay in touch with them.
It's a war of attrition.
Yeah.
You know, we have to hang in there longer
than any other sales
longer
process.
than the guy they just spoke to.
Yeah.
I've had sales cycles, you know, I've met people at boat shows and they go on my, you know, lower priority list.
Right.
But I know they have a boat and I know they want a bigger boat, but I know they maybe I mean,
and you just got to stick with them.
my Benetti, that was a 4-year
Yeah.
sales cycle.
Yeah.
A lead, a referral, and then 4 years later.
Yeah.
Boom.
And the guy that I'm working on for the Fort Lauderdale boat show, we're in about year 3.5.
Yeah.
Of going back and forth, and we missed a couple boat shows. You know, the boat wasn't ready; it was in the yard, and now he's finally about that time. I mean, it really is about timing. So that that follow up is just after a boat show. There's the prioritization of somebody that's going to be doing
Who
something
is the immediate
now.
buyer? Identify them and hammer it right away.
And then there's the people like, listen, I will follow up, but it's going to be a different type of game of follow up, and it might not always be about boating that follow up.
Right.
It might be about something else just to stay on this guy's radar.
Yep.
So he calls me instead of calling you.
Yep.
You know, that's the reality, right?
Yeah.
Like you got to stay on these guys so they remember who you are, because there's a lot of us out there, and putting your value in, and hopefully when the time is right, because it's all about timing when in the purchase of a boat. He calls you, and you're on the forefront of his mind.
Yeah, and on your like prioritized people that maybe they're telling you like, oh, in our conversation, you just sold your boat. Okay.
Right.
All right. Well, and your boat was, a 60 Viking in my HMY world. You had a 60 Viking, you sold it. Well, we're going to get on board the 72. That's a qualified guy based on what he's had. That's a guy, if I have an inventory boat that I can get him back on and that I can sea trial him on, for when you deal with dealers, can I get him to the factory?
Right.
And I mean, you probably do like trips to Europe with guys and bring them to the factory. And, when you can get these really high priority people to the boat building factories, pool your resources and, and it's not just you saying something. Now they're meeting the president of the yacht manufacturing company.
Yeah.
They see all the support. So part of that follow-up can be, involving others and prioritizing that person and pushing it to the next step with, sea trial, visits, factory stuff.
And also what
stuff
they're
like that.
interested in, right? Like, I mean, I'm sure you have guys that would be interested in that 72 Viking that, maybe they don't need to come to the yard, or maybe they don't want to do that, but maybe they're a big golfer and they'd rather meet you out on the golf course or something like that. Or, it's taking those mental notes of what they're interested in, making sure it's inputted so you have it in front of you so you can go back over the course of time and review that.
Right.
And then hit them with like my car guy, for example. He's huge into cars. Like I wouldn't send that to a guy that wasn't into cars.
Right.
So it's all about taking that information and
mapping
it
out a game plan, like having a game plan.
Yeah, but it's not so like, post a boat show, you meet a guy, you prioritize somebody who's right then and there, but then the ones that are not, that are boat buyers, it's about how do you prepare for the long-term follow-up process. And I guess each way, there's no set book for it. I mean, that's really the crux of our industry.
That's what we do.
And like, oh yeah, this
if there was a handbook,
this manual tells me to do this. Like,
well,
that
there's all
doesn't
kinds
exist.
there's all kinds of corny stuff out there right now that you're seeing with like, oh, we can become a yacht broker. And, whatever, real quick. I mean,
good
luck.
Good luck. Each client is different. Each broker is different. Each sales cycle is different. The timing is always different. It's the most important part of anything is the timing in their lives. And so again, there's no manual for it.
Yeah.
It's just, making sure that you're prepared
Follow up has
and
to be
organized enough.
Yeah, and organic.
Yeah, organic
It needs
and
to
natural
seem
for sure.
genuine and natural and
Yeah.
coming from a good place, because you gotta understand, like, these people are getting sold
Everything.
something everywhere they go.
And we're not
You know?
selling used Toyota Camrys.
Yeah,
right?
they're buying
Hugely appreciated asset.
beautiful houses and beautiful cars, and the boat is, it's not necessary. You have to have a passion for it.
Unfortunately, it's not
yeah.
necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're selling, like you said, it's a lifestyle, but it's part of their lifestyle. They have planes, high net worth individuals, multiple homes. So incorporating that follow up and sales pitch and style into their lifestyle
And like you said,
be
a naturally organic
Yeah.
way. I think that's the key.
interesting.
Cool. Well, this has been our segment on post-boat show follow-up. We got off the rails a little bit there, but hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Again, Grant Henderson with Burgess Yachts.
Thanks, Grant.
And-
Mike Scalisi with HMY.
Hi, I'm Bob Allen, and I work with a law firm known as Robert Allen Law. We're a law firm dedicated to serving the needs of people in the yacht industry. We're a team of lawyers that has experience in virtually all the fields surrounding this business. And if you're in the business, you know how important it is to work with lawyers who know yachts, right? And know the type of problems that arise and know how to solve them. Our job as lawyers is to help deals get done.
Welcome, everybody, to the last segment of the webinar series for IYBA. My name is Trevor Carroll. I'm the Vice President of IYBA. I wanted to do this last segment today to try to help and shed some light on the new fee structure and rules that went into place July 1st in the Bahamas. There's a lot of confusion around it, and today with me I have Peter Morey, who is the president of the Bahamas Marine Associations, and he's going to talk a little bit about that and get into the whole structure of it. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you. So I'm Peter Morey, like Trevor said, president of the Association of Bahamas Marinas. I also operate Bay Street Marina downtown Nassau, and have been in this business for 35 plus years. So I know it pretty well now.
So why don't we just start and get right into it? I guess everybody really wants to know kind of if you can get into, let's just say let's start with a 40-foot center console. I can't remember the break point. Where is it?
So it actually, we had 5 different price ranges, the way the boats were broken up. But, in the new policies, it's 0 to 50, 51 to 100, and then 100 and over. So It's just 3 tiers now.
So let's go 0 to 50. Let's say, a guy comes in his 40-foot center console and he goes into clear customs. What fees is he looking at? So, and then obviously you've got the 1 year and then the 2 year, correct? Yeah. So if you could help us with that. So
a 40-footer up to 50 is going to be, if they choose the single entry, it's $500. Then you have to pay for the fishing license, which is $100, and then you pay the anchor fee. So obviously in that whole scenario, they're not going to have a tender or anything else. So basically, that's it. They can actually do that on Click to Clear, and then they have it used to be 90 days. It's now 30 days to use a second entry, which is kind of quick, but that's what we're faced with. If he chooses to use the 2 year multi-entry, which is available, it's $1,500, and then they can they use the they can come in as many times as they want in the 2 year period, and they call it the CDCC. It's the cruising permit. I can't remember what the words stand for, the initials, but anyway, it's so you have multi-entry. So if they are doing a summer in the Bahamas, back and forth between Bimini and whatever, then they can come in and out. And obviously for Wahoo trips and fishing trips and things like that, they can use the multi-entry. After they initially clear in, then each time they come in afterwards, they would have to pay the attendance fees for customs and immigration, which are typically about $50, for each department. On the first entry, you're not supposed to pay anything; it's included.
And the anchoring fee for that size boat, what is that?
I think, unfortunately, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was like $125.
Okay.
So.
And one question that got asked to me several times, and I didn't know the answer, and one of the big reasons that brought you in today. But somebody asked me the question, actually several people asked me, say you're on a 52-foot Viking and you're over there on a boys Wahoo fishing trip and you have no intentions to anchor out. Is that an option to?
No, it was the policy actually was if you use a marina that you didn't pay the anchorage fee, but I guess, when they rolled it out July 1st, that wasn't an option. So it's mandatory.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I do have to say, after hearing you spell it out, especially for that size boat, it's definitely more palatable than what they initially had proposed several times.
Yeah, the 52 would actually that goes up, for the 2 year. I think it's $2,500 for the 2 year, and obviously it's not $500, it's $1,500 for the single entry.
Right.
So it's almost, if you're a South Florida based boat, it's worth doing the 2 year. Yeah, we don't. Unfortunately, Customs doesn't have the card available yet, but they're working on that, and we expect that to actually we have as a Bahamas Marina Association, we have a meeting with Customs next week, and they're going to update us on that whole policy. So you can't. Hopefully, at that point, they're going to let us know that you can now do it online, because before you couldn't. So hopefully they've updated the click to clear so you can get the 2 year, and then you'll get a card sent to you, I guess.
Perfect. So, and then 50 feet and above.
Yeah, 50 feet and above. So that 52 you're talking about would be either $1,500 for the single entry or $2,500 for the multi-entry.
Perfect.
And then obviously the fishing license is $100. It's 30 days.
Right.
So you have to renew that. And I don't think that's available on the website yet, but again, that's something we're hoping that, when Customs updates us next week, that they will tell us that that now you can pay that online as well.
Now, did the AIS requirement go into effect for over 50 feet?
Yes.
It did.
Yeah.
So if you're over 50 feet, you're required to have AIS.
Correct.
And I have to say, I heard a lot of pushback on that. But, if you understand an AIS, which it works off a radio signal, right? So the more boats in the area that have AIS, the more, feedback you're going to get. And I think it is kind of a good thing as far as safety is concerned.
Absolutely.
In
fact, we were never against it. The biggest problem was it was, they rolled it out for every boat. So our, suggestion was based on the U.S. Coast Guard standards. I think it's 65 and above is the norm over here. So a lot of 25-footers and 30-footers that come over to the Berry Islands or Bimini don't necessarily have it. So it would be an expensive piece of equipment for them to put on board. So when we brought that up, Customs agreed that they would move it to 50 feet.
Yeah.
So which most boats 50, 60 foot range start to have AIS. I have it on my 39 personally because I want to be seen.
Yeah, it's a great safety feature.
Yeah,
and to be able to pick it up on somebody else to see how fast they're moving.
Correct.
And, where they're headed, I think.
When you're fishing off a hole in the wall or anything like that, and those big tankers go by, or off of James Point, off the Luthers, I want to make sure I'm on their radar. You know, they don't run you over because they come right along the,
Yep.
the drop off up at Spanish Key, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So I like to have it on, but that was the big thing is, it's just the expense and the hassle of putting it in, because policy got rolled out and really even customs, didn't have time to catch themselves to, implement everything. So that's why a lot of this is going in now.
Well, nobody likes change, right? And that's everybody. It's hard for everybody to grasp that.
The big thing was, we want to make sure that we give everybody advance notice that they know what's going on, and so that's why with this call with Customs next week with the Association of Marinas, they'll update us, and then obviously, we'll post that on the Association of Bahamas Marinas website, and all the rates are there, and the click to clear, we put everything there.
Yeah.
So most boats, if they want to get any information, the best place is on our social media and obviously our webpage. So
perfect. And so the next break after that.
So then over 100, I think it's 2,500 for the single entry. I mean, you still get the 30 days, but it's really a single entry cruising permit. And then you pay $8,000. It goes up to $8,000 for the multi-entry. So, but some of these boats that are doing in that category, you have more commercial type boats that are doing charters and stuff. So they go back and forth depending on their season and everything else. So for them, it probably makes sense as well, but the big thing is once you have the multi-entry, you can check in anywhere, that has just like the other ones. But I don't know. I mean, I think it's a cost savings in the long run. It's just it was easier when it was all in one, but now it's all pieced up. So it's kind of makes it a little more challenging. But hopefully once we have this meeting next week, some of that stuff will get sorted out as well.
Good. Well, that's good, and I think that helps give some clarity to the whole thing. And now it's getting to be a little more commonplace. But even on Spanish Key, right after happened, our customs agent couldn't even tell us exactly what was going on. So it was there was just a lot of confusion circling around it, and it was tough.
That was it's like I said, implementation is always a little more difficult than policy. I mean, the lawmakers can say, hey, this is what it is. And then, everybody's got to scramble, including the marinas and everything else to try to, be able to disseminate it to our guests. And even like you said, the customs agents were trying to get their heads around it. So it was kind of a shock when it went in, but we're slowly, we're starting to figure our way out, around it.
Good. One last question, and this is a little off topic, but you were a big part in helping Bahamas recreate its flag state and make it more favorable to private yachts. And some focus has gone away from that over the last few years. Just other issues have sucked oxygen out of the room. Do you see that coming back and making more of a presence? Or
I mean, we're pushing hard for it because obviously, as a Bahamian, I want to see, our flag on these boats. Even my own boat, I've, flagged under the Bahamas. It's just, we have two parallel registries in the Bahamas, and that's part of the problem. We're trying to do two different things almost, so that makes it a little more difficult. We've had the conversations with our Port Authority, and we've had the conversations with the BMA to try to get some kind of symbiosis between them,
Right.
So, because obviously, they consider the cruise ships and the bulk carriers and the freighters, they consider them as a big benefit. But, for us, the yachts are a big deal as well. I mean, we have over, I think, 68 marinas in the Bahamas. So, if they can flag in the Bahamas and get some benefit from that. It's, there's all kinds of, I guess, opportunities for flag agencies and things like that. So it's just like when they did the, with the boat brokerage, or, they allowed boats to be brokered in the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
The law was before for charter that no boat could be chartered in the Bahamas. They would have to, no solicitation for foreign flag vessels. So, we've been pushing this for over a decade to allow the boats, once they get there, to be eligible for charter and booked while they sit in the marinas. Because obviously, I run a marina and most of my peers run a marina. But the grocery stores, the restaurants, the casinos, they all want the guests to stay there. Yeah.
Yep.
So we don't want the boat to leave. So the big thing was in that we actually proposed it, and it was passed that now a boat can be chartered or solicit within the Bahamas. They have to do it through a Bahamian company,
Yep.
but still, I mean, that's better than none,
Yep.
as far as we're concerned. So even a Florida broker, if I have a boat at Bay Street Marina, can say, hey, we want to, we're looking for a boat for a day charter. They can contact a local company that hopefully is approved by the port and get that set up. So
Good.
That kind of helps a little bit. But ideally, the flag state question is still unanswered. We want to try to get it to the point where, we have a lot of Jamaican flags and a lot of Cayman flags in Marshall Islands and the Bahamas, and we'd like to see more of our own flags.
Well, as a broker, it's an easy sell for a client to flag their boat in the Bahamas. So we definitely hope that focus comes back around. And I certainly appreciate your time here today, Peter.
Yeah, sure.
And thank you for answering all these questions. And I hope it gives people some more clarity to what's going on over there. And that wraps up this webinar series. And appreciate everybody watching. And hope you have a great day.
Thank you, everybody. And come back to the Bahamas. We're waiting.
All right, that was great. Thank you for everyone who watched. Again, I want to thank our very important sponsors, Robert Allen Law, Informa, Yachter, Boat Docks, and yachtbroker.org. Congratulations to those that won the 5 Windward VIP tickets at Flibs. I hope you enjoy it. And again, thank you everyone for watching and supporting IYBA. We'll see you out there on the docks.